All right, I'm now going to walk you through the parallel portion of this. So to start off, this is how our parallel circuits are typically drawn, but then I redrew it like this. So notice this is the same exact circuit. This is just using a little bit more wires than this one. Okay, when we look at this one in reality, when we're drawing these, or sorry, when we're building these, is a little bit more difficult to build it like this, and we could kind of mess it up by accident. And I know that building the parallels can be a little bit trickier. We're going to use a little bit more wires. Okay, so that's why I'm going to do this. The way I'm going to build it this way also ensures that I'm going to be able to get my total current before or after these junctions. Okay, so building it this way, you may not actually have a loop or a wire that is capable of measuring the total. There is a ton of different ways you can actually build a parallel circuit, but we're going to do this in a kind of an overkill type of way here, just to ensure that we actually have the ability to measure the total current through this circuit. So once again, I'm going to color code things. Again, I'm a huge color coding fan. I do it when I work through my circuits. And then here I've color coded this so you guys can see how I'm going to measure these different branches. All right. And so I'm starting once again, just like I did with my series, with the red coming out of the positive end of the power source. And then I'm going to create a junction. So I'm going to have a whole line on my circuit board just to create this junction. Again, it's overkill. I'm using extra wires. You don't have to do it this way. I just think it's the easiest way to make sure you're getting the right measurements. Then I'm going to use 2 blue wires to go into my resistor 1 and out of my resistor 1. Then I'm going to use 2 green wires to go into this resistor, out of this resistor. And then I'm going to use 2 orange wires to go into this resistor, out. And you can use any colors. The colors really don't matter. You don't need a red and a black for the start and finish. These wires are all identical. The colors are literally just to keep you organized. I picked these colors because they were the easiest to see. I originally had yellow and you couldn't see it on my video, so I switched to orange. Okay, so I've set this up the exact same way as I did my series. In fact, I just pulled all those wires out and just left my resistors just like this. Okay, so again, you can set them up anywhere on your board. Just make sure you're paying attention to the grid, right? So in any one line, A through E is connected. Okay, so I'm going to start by making this red wire to a junction. And as I already mentioned, I'm going to use an entire row just to create a junction. So it's going to get really busy here, but I, again, think that it is a better way to organize. So that is going to be my line. So I'm using, what is that, row 15, doesn't matter which one you do, but I'm going to use row 15 in order to create this, this junction here, which means I'm going to have a blue, a green, and an orange all in that line 15. Okay, so I'm going to go my blue to resistor 1. Okay, I'm going to do green to resistor 2. Hopefully get it in the right spot this time. And then orange to resistor 3. And I'm doing this just to follow this diagram. You can do the full loop. The order in which you actually build this doesn't matter, as long as it's done before you turn it on. Okay, I'm trying to get these wires out of the way. As I said, it's going to get kind of complicated. So now I'm going to look at the back half of this. So I'm going to have my negative, and I'm going to, again, these negatives are all connected down here. So I'm going to go kind of a little bit further down, and I'm going to use another whole row to create this junction here. Again, overkill, but I'm ensuring that I'm making these loops properly this way. Okay, and this is where it gets a little tricky. Okay, and now I've got my green to my junction. and my orange to my junction. There. Okay. So you can see here, I've got my red going to this. I'm making a junction here. So anytime you have a parallel, you have to have a junction. Whether you do that right to the resistor or not, that's up to you. Again, this really is overkill. There's a lot of different ways that you could do this, but I'm going to do this way. So then that way, when I am measuring my current, I know that if I measure my current on my red wire, I'm getting the total current. If I measure my current through a blue wire, I'm getting my resistor 1, green wire is resistor 2, and orange wire is resistor 3. That way I'm ensuring I'm getting the right actual values. Okay, and so a way to test this, to make sure that it's in parallel. So I've had some questions, well, how do I know if it's parallel versus series? This is the easiest way to test it, okay? So if I turn this on and I turn this on, and I'm in, again, my 20 volt DC, all right, let's go ahead and, well, first of all, double check this is working. So I'm on resistor 3 here, about 4.8 volts. Okay, so now if let's say I take out my blue wire. Okay, so I've just disconnected this wire. Disconnecting this wire should not affect the other two in terms of their voltage, right? That voltage is constant in parallel. And so if I go back here, I'm still getting my 4.8. So that way I know that at least my resistors 1 and 2 or 1 and 3 are definitely in parallel. So you can always check your work that way if you're not positive. But we're going to go ahead and put that back in. All right. And so this way you are measuring your voltage across all 3 resistors and recording that. Okay. So the next thing that we're going to do is our current. Switch that over and switch this over. Again, I like to turn mine off before when I'm switching them. I'm not sure if it really matters or not, but that's what I do. All right, so measuring current now is going to be really easy, okay, because of the way that we set this up. So if I want to measure my total current, that's the current going in or out of the battery. I can pick my red or my black wire. Now that I've set it up this way, again, I like to connect my alligator wire to one of them just so I don't have to worry about it. And in this case, okay, yeah, this one, to get the total is going to be a little bit different the way that I do it. Again, this is the way I like to do it. Doesn't mean it's the only way to do it. So I'm connecting that. Now I've got my other end. Okay, you can try to do this. It's not going to work. All right, so what I'm going to do is actually use a second red wire and put that in there. So it's almost like I took this red wire and made it 2. So I'm splitting it in the middle to put my ammeter right in the middle there. And then you can touch these together. All right, or you could even use your other alligator wire if you wanted to. Okay, I can clip those. I always make sound effects when I use alligator wires, but now I see I'm getting a current of 0.14 for my total current. Okay, so then I'm gonna take that out, put this back. And if you don't have the alligator wires for whatever reason, you can always just take those 2 and connect them together, like these 2 ends, and touch them together, or touch them to your thing. Electrical tape also works too, if you really wanted to. Okay, so now I'm going to measure in my resistor 1. So I'm going to take this blue one out, and it really doesn't, I think it's easier to take the front ones out because then I can just touch the resistor instead of having to worry about making a second wire go back to that. Okay, so now I'm taking my blue wire, connecting it to my positive end. I'm going to turn this back on so I don't forget. And then I'm going to go ahead and take my negative and touch it to this wire. And again, depending on how steady your hands are, you can just kind of lean it into that. And so I'm getting 0.05 for that current there. Okay, so then I can put my blue wire back and do the same thing looking through, or not looking, but measuring through my green wire and then my orange wire, okay? So hopefully that helps with our parallel circuits. Again, color coding them like this really just helps keep you organized and then really making sure we're making a junction, okay? The other way to have reduced these wires, if you're curious, is we could have taken all of those out and then actually just used, gone back to, and sorry, you should probably turn that off when you do these. I could have used 3 black wires going just to the individual resistors as well. That would have connected that series. Just removing a couple of the wires. You'd still end up with quite a few, but that's an option as well.